お前はもう死んでいる。何?
Hey everyone, welcome to the passenger seat with your host Joseph
and Carlos.
And today we're going to be talking about anime.
More specifically, 90's anime.
Yep.
And to much of our surprise, and probably a lot of people out there, there was a lot of animes that we thought were 90's and turned out not to be. List including like Cowboy Bebop, Trigun, what else we got there we found out?
So we do want to specify, some of these animes that we mentioned might actually have been from the 90's.
Well, they're from the 90's. But
right. We're talking about animes that aired in the U.S. in the 90's. So there might be a few animes that started in the 90's, like Cowboy Bebop and Trigun, but they didn't premiere in the U.S. till the 2000s. Just want to do a little clarification before people start going, well, no, those animes were actually from the 90's. No, we know. We just, we're going by the U.S. premiere date. That way we can include Dragon Ball Z,
of course,
which started in Japan in 1989, but it didn't reach the U.S. till 1996.
My bad. It's just, I just wanted to bring up the fact, because I know a lot of people are going to watch this video and be like, wait, wasn't this one? So stuff like Inuyasha, Yu Yu Hakusho, Rurouni Kenshin, those are actually
Hakusho?
Yeah.
Hakusho.
Actually got released in the early 2000s, much to our surprise.
Right. So, we're going to be starting off. We have 5 on our list today. We had to narrow it down. When we get to those animes that premiered in the 2000s, that's what we're really going to, go off and sort of talk about a lot more, like Naruto, Bleach, Death Note.
There's a lot. There's a lot new with that Fullmetal Alchemist.
So we're going to be starting off with, we're going to be going from pretty much less fond to us to the more fond.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a little bit about facts, year, came out, creation. The whole thing, just going one by one.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first ones we want to get into, which is one of the ones that we watched when we were kids, but it wasn't as dear to our hearts as the other ones, and that would be Sailor Moon.
Sailor Moon. Okay, so Sailor Moon actually started in, it premiered in the U.S. on September 11th of 1995. It was written by Naoko Takeuchi, and it follows the story of a middle school girl named Usagi, who... She's given the powers of, to be a sailor soldier. And what's interesting about that to me is the fact that she's a middle school girl. The way I remember it, they were at least in high school.
High school.
They're usually high school characters, but middle school, that's pretty young. We're talking about what? Anywhere between 12 to 14 or 15?
I don't know.
Honestly,
they were young.
They're young.
They're
really young.
I just wanted to bring up the fact that I feel like Sailor Moon was just one of those animes. When they got released in the United States, it get a lot of... female anime watchers, so this strong female protagonists, and I think it sort of opened the gateway for those type of animes with strong female protagonists. Sailor Moon's very popular in that.
But let's talk a little bit about the characters. So you have the protagonist, Sailor Moon.
Yeah, and I think one was Sailor Venus.
They had all the planets,
yes.
And it's kind of weird because Pluto was considered a planet, now Pluto's not a planet.
No, they brought it back.
They brought it back as a planet, right?
Yeah.
Recently. So Pluto had that period where it was a planet, it wasn't a planet. Yeah, so.
Poor little Pluto.
And then there was the male character, or sort of like the I don't know if there was a love interest.
The guy with the what was his name?
Tuxedo Mask.
Tuxedo Mask.
But yeah, Tuxedo Mask, and yeah, he always had like a rose in his mouth.
Yes, I do remember that. Yeah, there was an episode it got to me. It was this weird like ice rink, and then under it was like a whale type thing. That's one of the most things I can remember in Sailor Moon.
Interesting. But yeah, so with that being said, we're moving on to our next anime, and that's gonna be people know that.
Okay.
Neon Genesis Evangelion. So
I remember glimpsing episodes of it, but
you need to rewatch it.
Yeah, I was gonna say he watched it more than I did.
Right.
I know what it is. I remember it. And I remember some of the characters like Ray and the brown-haired girl and stuff like that. And,
you mean Asuka?
Yeah, and then they go on giant.
Max.
Yeah, sort of like what's that new movie that came out? I mean, not new now, but Pacific Rim
Oh,
type
yeah,
feel
yeah.
to it. That's what it reminds me of.
So Neon Genesis, it actually premiered in the U.S. October 4th of 1995, same year as Sailor Moon, and it's created by Hideaki Anno. I am very sorry if I butcher any of these names, by the way.
So I was gonna say.
And so the story sort of revolves around Shinji, who's the main character, who's recruited by his father into sort of a shady organization called Nerve to be the pilot of something called an Evangelion.
Yes.
And those are the mechs, right?
Mm-hmm. They had the purple and green.
Right, and he was tasked with fighting angels. There was alien beings called angels, and basically the story follows like all these experiences and emotions of the Ava pilots as they're trying to prevent another cataclysmic event caused by the angels about 15 years ago in the story.
So if anyone out there are like me, it's on Netflix. I'm gonna rewatch it. You guys should too.
Definitely, it's a show that's definitely worth watching. They actually released a movie or it was like an extra episode or something that had alternate ending.
I actually
because
think
people
so, yeah.
didn't like the first.
I heard about
ending.
that. I never watched the show, but I did hear about that whole thing of people not liking the ending
Yeah.
of the show.
So I'm gonna provide you guys with a few fun facts, right? Or not fun facts. Some of them aren't fun. They're interesting facts. The first one being Rei. One of the female characters in the show. She was actually meant to be the protagonist.
Really?
Yeah. And they had it in a way that she was gonna appear in the first episode, in her Ava fighting an angel, and then Shinji would be introduced later on. But she was meant to be the protagonist of the show.
Well, in the first episode, she technically fought, but
right, she's highly relevant.
Yeah,
You know,
of course.
Regardless if she wasn't the protagonist or not, you could say that she's pretty much the protagonist because the story really does revolve around her, in a sense. Another interesting bit is that the voice actor in Japan, Azuka's voice actor, which is the girl with the brown hair,
the red suit,
right?
Yeah.
Her voice actor Yuko Miyamura was actually allowed Shinji's voice actor, who's Megumi Ogata, to strangle her in a scene where Shinji's strangling Asuka in a vision in the end of Evangelion.
Why do we always get to these weird?
So no, seriously. So she allowed her to strangle her, or she allowed herself to be strangled, and it was apparently so bad that she couldn't perform her lines for a considerable period of time.
God, how hard do you have to be? Well, how hard?
I think Megumi was like stressed or something, and I guess she took it out on her. So it's an interesting fact because they actually talk about it. Huh?
No safe word?
Oh my god. Another interesting fact is, did you know that the plot of Evangelion actually reflects the depression of its creator, Hideaki Anno? Yeah, he was going through a depression, and the story or the plot reflects around his feelings of depression. And it's interesting because they're always making memes about how Shinji's an emo kid. And it's actually probably because of that, because you see a lot of those feelings manifested in the show.
Some animes do that. The creators base it on how they're feeling at the time, and or like how they feel throughout their life. Because the same creator, the creator of Cowboy Bebop, I know it's not in the 90s here, but he actually created Cowboy Bebop due to loneliness. The story was based around loneliness because he was alone most of his life. And
inspiration, you draw from emotions as a well of creativity for these sorts of things. Well, for anything really. And that takes us to our next anime, and that's gonna be
Pokemon. No, I'm kidding. We're gonna talk about Digimon. Digimon was actually created in Japan, 1997, but it didn't get released to an American audience until 1999. So it was right there on the mark.
Right down the cusp.
But the interesting fact about Digimon, I don't know if a lot of people know this, it did not start out as an anime. It did not even start out as a manga. Digimon started out as a Tamagotchi toy.
So as a game. Wow, they really. I don't think I should even be saying that. They really copied hard off of Pokemon.
You think they did, but they didn't. They actually wanted to get the same amount of attraction that Tamagotchis did.
Oh wow, really?
They were actually more. They wanted to be like Tamagotchi.
Interesting.
And what happened was that they created like these little ones. They still sell them on eBay too, the originals. And you see Agumon and like all the rest of them and their actual little design. Because the big design wasn't created yet, and you had to take care of them and all that stuff. You could level them up. Mm-hmm. But in schools in Japan, remember, these are little digital figures, and in schools in Japan, they consider it violent. And they were not allowed in schools anymore.
Oh, wow.
And their sales went down.
Ooh.
And that's where the inspiration from Pokemon played a big role. Because they went to manga.
Okay.
When they found out the Pokemon mangas were doing good, and lo and behold, the Pokemon anime series. Then Digimon was like anime series, and it actually wasn't that far apart of coming out from Japan to the U.S. It actually came out pretty quick.
Yeah.
Like it came out to the U.S. pretty fast.
Considering all the other animes on our list that might have taken quite a considerable amount of time, or even some from the 2000s.
Yeah, exactly.
That took a considerable amount of time. Yeah. Wow.
But as you know, obviously, Digimon stands digital monsters. So when they first premiered as that little toy, it was digital monsters. Right. It wasn't called Digimon, but. So story-wise, they wanted to create the story exactly like how, imagine having that little thing, but then all of a sudden you go into its digital world, which is the story was based around, Tai, Sora, Matt, Kiki was her name? I don't remember.
Wasn't Izzy one of them?
Izzy. I grew up on Digimon. I actually liked it a lot. Then card games started coming out, new stuff like that. They try to compete with Pokemon in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I remember the toys, and I loved the toys as a kid. I used to get a lot of those, and I bet some of you remember. It was a toy that started off as as the base form, and then you'd be able to transform it, and it would turn into like its
so like a transform, yeah,
just
like
Digivolution.
Yeah,
and that for me was really cool. I wish I don't know if they did it with Pokemon toys, but they should have, man. That was such a cool concept.
I think they have done it with Pokemon toys. I'm pretty sure. But essentially, they're called the Digidestins. They have to get out because they're stuck in the Digi world, and that's how the story bases off. But it became really popular in the United States as well.
Yeah.
Even though it was still second to Pokemon, it actually still got its following. Right. Either way.
Who could forget the movie with Flamedramon?
Yes.
Where the soundtrack was just fire. All the kids in America. Oh.
I think that came out in 2001.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, such a cool movie.
It is.
All right, well, takes us to our next anime, and that's going to be Dragon Ball Z.
Now, clarification, because a lot of you out there might, I don't know, because we're talking about the creations and stuff like that, and I know a lot of you out there are going to be like, but it started Dragon Ball. But we're specifically going to be talking about Dragon Ball Z, even though we know that it started with Dragon Ball.
Right. Either way, Dragon Ball is like 80s.
Yes,
it's around the 80s. But, okay, so Dragon Ball Z started September 13th, 1996. And if you hadn't noticed already, most of these animes actually hit their premieres around fall.
Yeah.
We didn't really look up why that is, but if any of you happen to know, go ahead and comment that below. Because that's a really interesting fact to us that all these animes sort of premiere around that time. But yeah. It premiered September 13th, 1996, here in the U.S. Dragon Ball, which is the original series, right, was created by Akira Toriyama. But Dragon Ball Z was actually written by someone else. And I believe it's because Akira didn't really want this show to be too long. I think he had plans to end it at a certain point.
I think you can sort of see it in the story as well, because if you go from Dragon Ball, which is the story based on the legend of...
which is... I'm about to get to that point too. So, Dragon Ball actually is inspired by the Chinese novel Journey to the West. And it's also inspired by martial arts films.
Okay.
From Hong Kong.
So I guess it's interesting though, because you go to Dragon Ball Z, once you touch in Dragon Ball Z, it's like a whole different story.
Yeah.
There's more aliens, Super Saiyan, like all that stuff, and they kind of don't really touch upon the whole monkey thing anymore. They like push it back. That main type of story that the creator wanted to do.
Yeah, I mean the whole monkey thing does appear. The great ape does appear in a few. It appears in a few parts, but it's not like super prominent anymore as it was in Dragon Ball. I do divide DBZ into 4 arcs, which is, and I know there's a lot of you who know that there's a lot of sagas in DBZ, but I divide it into 4, and that's the Saiyan arc, which is the whole him versus Raditz and Vegeta and Nappa and all that. There's the Frieza arc.
Best one.
Where they go to Namek, they fight Frieza, the Ginyu Force, Cell Games arc.
Of course, that's the whole Gohan thing. In Japan, I mean, that scene with Gohan was amazing, obviously, but in Japan, Gohan was not perceived as well as it was in the United States. The United States actually puts Gohan, has a bigger fan base in the United States. Gohan has a bigger fan base in the United States than he does in Japan.
Yeah. And then the Buu arc, of course, which is the arc that ended Dragon Ball Z. Also really cool. But honestly, for me, the best one was the Frieza arc. A few more things.
I think it's just because it just started. The whole, once he turned Super Saiyan when he went against Frieza, everybody was just...
Super Saiyan was a vibe, okay? Or a mood. So, did you know that Goku and Frieza's fight was actually the longest in anime history at the time?
I believe it. It was one episode of Screaming.
It had a total of approximately 4 hours of screen time. That's insane. That's a lot. 4 hours in a 20-minute episodes?
That's Lord of the Rings' last movie. No, I'm not kidding you.
We're talking about a very long fight scene or sequence, right?
Yeah.
And that brings us to our very last anime. And some of you may go, that's not an anime, that's a cartoon. No, it's actually an anime. And that is...
Digimon.
Pokemon. I want to be the very best. Okay. So, Pokemon, man. Who doesn't love Pokemon?
Was that the original theme in Japan, too?
I don't know. I don't think so. Anyways. It premiered in the U.S. in September 8th, 1998, again, in fall season. A little thing about Pokemon. The name Pokemon actually comes from the Japanese title Pocket Monsters. And so when they brought it to U.S., they shortened it, and it's Pokemon.
Yeah, that's what Digimon started.
I'm telling you,
there's a lot
of similarities.
No, I know Digimon copied them. Not copied them, but it was a big inspiration for them.
Yeah. It was created by Sensei Satoshi Tajiri, who was actually inspired by his childhood hobby of bug collecting.
Dude, I thought you were going to say dog fighting. I was like... Because I'm like, what inspiration can you get from 2 animals fighting?
Bug collecting. It was a collecting thing. And, after he saw the Game Boy capabilities with the link cable, he said it would be really cool to have this thing where you could collect, these creatures and then have it be tradable with people. So check this out. So the original games, right, when released in Japan, they weren't red and blue. As it came here to the U.S. It was actually red and green.
I know. I remember that one.
The story is basically, if you haven't played Pokemon, if you're not from this planet, it follows the story of you're a Pokemon trainer, and you go into the Pokemon world to pretty much catch them all and become a Pokemon master. And you do that favor for Professor Oak. To fill up the Pokedex while he sleeps with your mom.
And it's such...
Sorry.
It's such... Now, going back to the anime, this is the main topic now.
Right.
The anime, I think when that anime hit United States, man, it really blew up. Because there were so many people of our generation who just loved that beginning anime.
I mean... The first episode where Ash, goes to get Pikachu, he has that, very, it's not like a mutual feeling where, Ash is super excited to get Pikachu. Pikachu actually hates this guy.
I know that. Actually, I wanted to ask you a question because I don't know it, and I wonder if our viewers know it either. Did the Pokemon anime show make Pikachu famous? Or was it the games?
I think it was the show.
The show, right?
Yeah, because Pikachu... regardless of being the mascot, I think the prominence came from the show, not from the games. But yeah, a few more interesting facts. There are not a lot of interesting, Pokemon anime facts, but they're more Pokemon in general.
Okay.
If I had to mention one from the Pokemon anime, is that Brock has actually opened his eyes 3 times, I think. A total of 3 times.
Was it every time you looked at the ladies?
I don't know. I think one of them was him making a funny face. So the early designs of Pokemon actually referred to them as capsule monsters, not as pocket monsters.
I can see that.
Also, another interesting fact, I know it's not anime related, but game related, but Pokemon Crystal, get this, had the capability to connect to phones in Japan. Like, you were able to connect to your
like
phone.
Like a flip phone?
The older phones. I don't know if they were flip phones or whatever, but you could connect them to your phone, and you'd be able to receive stuff off the internet on your phone. They didn't start doing that, I think, until Pokemon Go. And
That's true. You're right.
Pokemon Let's Go Eevee Pikachu, that you had your interaction between your phone and your console. That's insane. That's how old that technology is.
Well, one of the things that was interesting to me about the Pokemon anime series, and obviously, the thing that sparked the movie as well, because Mewtwo's a really big deal, and the movie was amazing. Just like the Digimon movie.
Oh.
I think it even came out in theaters and everything, and they gave you like a special Mewtwo card.
Yeah. Oh, the Mew.
The Mew.
There
we go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember theaters used to do that. They did it with Yu-Gi-Oh as well. They would give you a special card.
Packs.
They don't do that anymore.
Free cards. Yeah, that was great. And who can forget the toys, either at BK or at
Oh,
McDonald's?
yes, of course. The keychains and stuff like that.
When toys actually used to be cool. Not only the keychains. I remember there was one promotional thing, I believe it was Burger King, that they brought you a Pokeball and you'd open it and there'd be like a gold-plated slab of a Pokemon in it. Those... BK, when did you drop the ball? Okay? Those were awesome toys. I get it, production-wise, you spent a lot of money doing something like that. But still, those were great times.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So, these are the 5 animes we wanted to talk about from 90s specifically. In the future, we will talk about the early 2000s because I know a lot of you, if you'll notice by this video, you grew up more in the early 2000s. You got that One Piece, Naruto, and all that stuff that really, opened anime up to the United States.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that more in another video. But
hopefully you enjoyed the ride here with us today, and hopefully you can join us for the next ride here in The Passenger Seat.